we are on.
Alright, hello. Here is the book which you just saw, and this is about multi-genius technology for consciousness, and it's volume 1 and it's called the Self-Explorer's Handbook. Now, what I will talk about in the next 15 minutes or so will be to explain what we are doing at what we call the MGT Institute for Consciousness. Alright, so what is the MGT Institute for Consciousness? It's a retreat for explorers of inner space. Alright, what does that mean? I will come back to inner space in a moment. We have an educational center and are training explorers to self-explore. That's one of our main activities. Alright, very briefly, MGT stands normally for management, you could say management of consciousness, but in this case it's multi-genius technology, MGT. And the reason for that is that we have many sources combined and integrated into one model, which is the one we're using at the Institute. Okay, you can ask yourself, consciousness. Okay, consciousness is, we're all conscious. So what about it? Well, why explore consciousness? Okay, so let me answer that question first. Consciousness is of course a very general subject. We're all conscious. But you can distinguish in two types of consciousness. The one is, let's say you have a difficulty or a problem and you're conscious of it. That I call the automatic consciousness, because you're automatically conscious of what the problem is, because that's the problem. Now the other type of consciousness is creative consciousness, which is the causative factor in life. If you have a particular situation or undesirable situation in life, undesirable conditions, painful situations, whatever, that is what you are conscious of. Now, in order to handle that, in order to solve such things, one has to become conscious of the creative consciousness part. In other words, what is behind it, what is underlying it. Okay, this may sound very theoretical, but consciousness is all we have. All the universe is conscious. And we could say, in our philosophy, everything takes place in consciousness. We are embedded in consciousness. So, obviously, consciousness is the target. Now, I myself, when I was 16 years old, I knew what I was going to do or what I was interested in life. And that is to find out answers. I wanted to know. I wanted to have answers to my questions. And I thought the way to go is to study psychology, because I thought in psychology you will find the answers. Well, hitting the university, behaviorism wasn't really giving me that many answers, and there was no spirit and there was no soul in the whole subject, because it was all studying behavior, so I was a bit disappointed there. So I didn't stay too many years at the university and continued to study and yoga and whatever Eastern philosophies and Alice Bailey, Steiner, theosophy, anthroposophy, etc., etc. So that's where our multi-genius comes from. Okay, so let me answer a little bit this question about what is our basic philosophy. Okay, man is not a body. Man is a spiritual being. In actual fact, man is a multi-genius spiritual being inhabiting a body. Now, that's a certainty for us. Not so for everyone, but okay, there is a way to find this out for yourself. Now, we see the universe that is embedded in consciousness as a, very briefly described as a holographic, fractal, multi-dimensional universe. Now, that's a lot of words. Fractal means, the basic definition of fractal is self-similar models at different scales. So the system is the same, or the shape is the same, but it repeats itself at different levels, like on a galactic, on a solar system, and on a molecular or atomic level. Things repeat, models repeat themselves. That's fractal. Holographic is that the whole is in the part, or the part in itself is a whole. Now, our philosophy is holographic or holistic, let's say. We use a simple model which is very explanatory, and that's a tree. It's called the fractal tree. Now, imagine you have a tree, and the outside level is the twigs level. There may be, you can distinguish about 7 levels. You have the outer twigs, then you have the little bit bigger twigs, and then the little bit bigger twigs, and then the branches, and then you go all the way to the stem or the trunk of the tree. Now, in this model, what we can perceive with the eyes, what we can perceive with the senses, is the twig level. That's the three-dimensional world. That's limited to 3 dimensionals. Now, if you want to really understand what this 3-dimensional world that presents ourselves to our eyes and our senses consists of, you can of course explore outer space. You can take a telescope, you can take a microscope, you can use the eyes and all the senses, but you will always remain at this twig level, the final small twigs. To really get to know what's going on, you have to go deeper. Not so much in outer space. You can of course study the galaxies and the stars and the microcosm, what's visible, but it's just limited to the visible frequencies. And that is very limited. You know the spectrum of light. It's frequencies between so much and so much hertz, and that's it. And it's a very small part of the total spectrum of frequencies that is possible. Okay, so where to go? So we have said we are a retreat for explorers of inner space. So what's inner space? I'll come back to the fractal tree. You go from the twig level to the bigger twigs, to the branches, to the trunk. That's inner space. That was what in biblical wordings, or Jesus Christ talked about the kingdom of heaven is within. That's what we're talking about. It's the root inside, in ourselves, to find the higher dimensional, the higher fractal levels of the truth. So when we talk about exploration of inner space, that's what we talk about. I'm sorry, I can just get this very brief analogy of the fractal tree, and I hope that makes some sense. But it's inward where the answers are. Okay, so that is our basic philosophy in a very few words. There is just let me say a little bit more about the direction to go, because what we are interested in is at the trunk level of the tree. That is the final, the oneness, where everything is one whole. What religious people refer to as God is very often very imprecisely or not at all defined. When we talk about the wholeness, we talk about it's a God concept. It's the supreme being. Or it is also the impersonal, absolute consciousness in which everything takes place. So, if we want to be practical, because that's the next question that comes up, what do we do in the Institute for Consciousness? Okay, so we are an educational center, so we have courses. These courses are designed to teach someone a particular method to enter inner space. Okay, first one, basic meditation. We teach a form of meditation which is not like using any particular mantras or particular techniques, but we call it basic meditation because it is the ground level, the zero state of basic nothingness, which is a prerequisite for any kind of meditation. And we call that pure perception. It consists of exercises to basically just be conscious of being conscious. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about it now. There is a lot more to it. Then we have, so that's one of the courses. Then we have, of course, the basic Multi-Genius Technology for Consciousness course, our basic course, where we teach the methods how to explore inner space. And of course we offer a technique, and the technique we call the universal imagination processing, which means we're using the imagination. Now the imagination, that's been proven over and over again, and many philosophies, practices use the imagination as the key ingredient of whatever. It's a basic ingredient. So we use imagination for everything. Now the wonder of the imagination is that everyone can do it. It's very easy. It's very natural. It has been in our schooling, in our usual educational system, it has been very much neglected, and daydreaming is sort of frowned upon. Well, not with us. We are encouraging daydreaming because that is where the creativity stems from. And many scientists also will agree that just using the logical mind you will not get anywhere. So we encourage and we specialize in fostering and developing the creative mind, and that goes through the imagination. That's imagination processing. Let's say how we use this. Okay, let's start from everyday situations in life. You have some difficulty, you have a habit that is unwanted, there is a relationship you're not happy with, there is, you just can't get through the mathematics because you're confused about something, but you need the mathematics for your job. So what do? Such problems. Okay, how do we go about addressing that? Because that will be we are basically troubleshooters, and we say the answers can be found by anyone, and you only have to research, to in-search inner space. You have all the answers within you. And as I said before, when we talk about within, we talk about inner space, where all the wisdom is. There is a full potential in inner space of knowing all answers. There is an infinite potential of knowledge. And I am sure you love to know. This is what drives me. I love to know everything. So, okay, you have a particular problem? Let me assure you, there are answers, and the answers can be found in inner space. So we offer techniques to access inner space. Okay, practically. So somebody comes to us to the institute, and we say sit down, and maybe get connected to a little electronic gadget we use to measure emotional state. And then we have what we call a life audit. The life audit is an interview where we establish what would you like to handle, what is bothering you, or what is your interest. And that can be in a positive or in a negative sense. And very often we encounter somebody has to have painful situations in life. It can be traumatic. It doesn't really matter. What matters is there is something, some situation which has and asks to be addressed, to be handled, which is unwanted. You don't want it, you don't like it. And that may be one of the reasons why it persists. But we'll come to that. So what we do in the life audit, we examine these things and we register emotional charges on the subject. So somebody says, okay, my relationship, and we see, bang, emotional reaction on the electronic instrument. I will not go into it exactly. It's called a psychogalvanometer. That's the one we use, and it's a very useful gadget, very simple. And that shows charge, so we note that down. Okay, relationship. and others say, okay, study. I get stuck in my studies, or I can't study mathematics, or I can't understand that. It doesn't matter what it is. From the viewpoint of infinite potential, which we all are, there are no secrets, there are no things that cannot be obtained. So we zero in on the particular problem, the particular interest of the person, and then we show a way and we teach methods to get into inner space and to yourself find the answers. So in other words, we are not providing any answers. The only thing is we show how to get there and how to find the answers for yourself. So there's no evaluation of saying, like the psychoanalyst used to, okay, that's this dream means so and that means so and so. No, you know what it means and you find out. So that's what we teach. Then also we teach technology for study, which is of course, there's also the study of the outer world, and that goes through consciousness. So there is a study technology we have, and then there remains the question of what would be expected from our technology. So let me just in 2 words. You want more harmony. I'm sure you want more harmony. Now that goes on the personal level, and that's usually the first thing, but it also goes on the level of society. We don't want war, we don't want chaos, we want harmony. And not a boring harmony where everything is in balance and nothing happens, but there has to be some excitement, some balance and some unbalance. So we want adventure, but we want to have a way to restore balance, to restore harmony when it's gone. And that's exactly what self-exploration technology, the multi-genius technology for consciousness, provides us with. Tools to address any situation. And it doesn't matter. Anything can be handled. Believe me, it's we can contact, through these methods, infinite potential, and all the answers are there. So you're welcome to this. Thank you very much for listening. That's all I have to say.